Percy Jackson fan.
Now you stole mine. I was just kidding.
I figured.
I'm Julie, original Rachel Dare superfan. Thank you very much. I've loved my redhead homegirl from the first time I read her.
She's back, baby! We are also joined by Robert, perhaps better known as TheDamMemePage.
I don't know if better known is like a thing. I don't know. I feel like the Damien page is sinking back into irrelevancy. Yeah. But hello, hi, it's me again.
I have a question for you, Robert, about why you requested to join for this specific episode, because when I was like, hey, want to come back on the pod, you were immediately like, have you already done the chapter where Beckendorf explodes? So, like, what is your beef with Beckendorf?
Oh, I have no beef. I just wanted to be here because I'm like, I need Julie's reaction to Beckendorf exploding.
Well, this is the first time that Julie has ever texted me during the day while she was reading.
I do have a day job, and I was reading on said day job. And it was a lot to throw at me in the first chapter of this book. Like, it was just bam, 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 bam.
I imagine how crazy it gets, and you have like 20 chapters to go.
Jesus Christ.
This is just chapter 1 and 2. Because, yeah, that's what we have today, chapters 1 and 2. Before we get into our first chapter, just want to point out how happy it makes me that this book is dedicated to Rick's 8th grade English teacher. Big fan of that. Also, this is the first time that I have sat down to really look at the map that is in the front of this book. And Julie, your version does not have a map, but it has this like little map of Manhattan. I feel like there are some inaccuracies and some weird things that they have labeled. Percy's apartment is like way too far south, by the way. So I don't know that this is actually a useful map of Manhattan. Also, the way that like Fifth Avenue and Broadway are the same thing, they're not. Anyway.
It's also kind of good that Julie does not have access to this map because there are some spoilers on this map.
That's the other thing. I'm like, some of the things that you decided to label are, choices were made. Anyway, chapter 1 is I Go Cruising with Explosives. And the end of the world started when a Pegasus landed on the hood of my car. What an opening.
I mean, it's no... Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood, but it's still pretty good.
I would venture to say it's the second most iconic of this series.
To be fair, I could not tell you how the other 3 books start, so I'll have to agree by default.
Oh, neither could I. So that's why it's the second most iconic. We do get a lot of information in this first page because we open with Percy and Paul's Prius having what can only be described as a romantic tryst to this lookout overlooking the Atlantic. Percy does inform us that him driving the car like this is in fact illegal because he is not 16 yet, won't be for another week. And so this tells us that it is August, and this is our first summer book that doesn't start with getting to camp in June. Percy also says this is the first time he's seen Rachel. He's with Rachel, by the way, on this like romantic venture. This is the first time he's seen Rachel in anything but ratty t-shirts and jeans, and she looks like 1,000,000 golden drachmas. But, you know, this reads more to me as like, oh, I'm discovering that my friend Rachel is a girl for the first time rather than any sort of like, I am attracted to Rachel, you know?
It's sort of akin to that stereotype from 80s, 90s, and 2000s movies where you give the nerdy girl a makeover and it's like, whoa, Lizzie was hot the whole time? Or what's it called? Zoe 101, when Quinn and Logan, wow, I could pull that out of my ass, when they got together.
I have not thought about Zoe 101 in many years.
Hey, he wants to make a Zoe 101 podcast. Every time I talk to a friend about like, hey, when's the last time you thought about or saw this show or media? And they're like, not in many years, / I've never engaged with it. I'm like, podcast.
Oh, I did only half jokingly throw out the idea of a Twilight podcast to a friend over the holidays. She was not for it.
I have never engaged with Twilight, so hey, I'd be a great guest for an episode.
I'm kind of dying to know what Sally's thoughts are on this whole thing because like the last book also opened with a sort of date that's not a date situation because like he was supposed to go to the movies with Annabeth after his orientation. And so we saw Sally kind of tease him about his date, and Percy has said like she really likes Annabeth, but we never really get her thoughts on Rachel. Like she never really interacts with Rachel. So obviously we know Rachel enough that like Paul trusts Percy to go off alone in his car with her, but like is Sally like the rest of us? Is she still rooting for Annabeth? Has Paul even met Annabeth? Like I always need more lore about like what Percy's parents are up to because it feels like there's so much going on with them behind the scenes.
They're busy getting engaged and married in the span of like 4 months. Let them live. They're doing their own thing.
They're too busy with their own whirlwind romance to worry about their 15-year-old child and his
Yeah.
girl problems.
I mean, as we'll find out in a second, it's not particularly girl problems. The main thing Percy is going through right now is that Rachel's like, "Hey, casual invite. You want to come with me and my family to the Caribbean?" And he's like, "Gosh, I'd love to. Unfortunately, I am on call for war.
You hate to see it.
Being on call for any kind of job sucks so much."
Yeah. Also, like, inviting someone to go on vacation with you, like, is that just something rich people do? Like, do I need more
Mm.
rich friends?
You gotta watch White Lotus.
Is that what that show's about? Just a bunch of rich people bringing their friends on vacation?
Bringing the pores on vacation.
No, but that's what happens in the first season.
Interesting.
Bring the pores on vacation, please and thank you. I am one of the pores. Hey, topical discussion for right now when we're recording. Turns out going on a plane is kind of deadly these days.
No, what is happening?
Listen, you take Pete Buttigieg out of this, the Department of Transportation, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
The gays get stuff done, you know?
I would not be surprised if I went on my nightly TikTok doom scroll and I see that there's like 3 more plane crashes. I'm like, oh boy.
How many more plane crashes can we have? Anyway, Percy cannot join Rachel for this luxurious vacation because, as you said, we are on the brink of war. He is on call for war. Something big is supposed to be happening any day now because he is mere days from turning 16. Something bad is supposed to happen when he turns 16. Rachel, however, really wants him to come because her dad is working very hard to convince her to go to finishing school next year. Again, I'm a little too poor to know what finishing school is beyond what like Rachel says about it, but I did Google it, and it said that finishing schools generally teach social graces, etiquette, and cultural norms. This really feels like something that belongs like in the Regency era, where a girl's most important job was like finding a rich husband at like a ball. It's just I don't know, it feels very antiquated. Like there are more important things for you to be learning than like manners.
But which fork goes like on the most left?
You use the utensils from like the outside in, I'm pretty sure.
Cena, we would know if we weren't the filthy pores who don't have class or etiquette.
I learned all my manners from the Princess Diaries.
And you know what? That's correct.
She's never steered me wrong.
Princess Diaries podcast. Let's start one.
Me drooling over Anne Hathaway the entire time.
Check. Sign me up. Rachel also tells Percy that she wants to talk to him about something, but then she says, forget it. Let's just pretend that we're two normal people on a normal afternoon. And she says, so, like, hypothetically, if these regular people liked each other, what would it take for the stupid guy to kiss the girl, huh? Rachel has, like, far more courage than I've ever had in my entire life. I just want to point that out. Then Percy says, and I quote, I can't pretend I hadn't thought about Rachel. She was so much easier to be around than ... well, some other girls I knew.
Kill him.
I didn't have
Kill
to
him.
work hard or watch what I said or rack my brain to figure out what she was thinking. Rachel didn't hide much. She let you know how she felt. And like,
Kill him.
I get why this would be appealing. Annabeth Chase is an enigma, and he is particularly seaweed-brained when it comes to her, so it's a bad combination.
No, kill him. Death penalty instantly. The new hero of the prophecy will become Nico, I guess.
No matter how much I ship Percabeth, I cannot be mad at Rachel's actions here. She's like, it's free real estate. If Annabeth's not going to lock it down, I'm going to shoot my shot. And honestly, respect.
I will say, without spoiling who does or doesn't get together, a lot of the fandom, way back when, were like, oh, Percy and Rachel should be the thing. Percy and Annabeth should be the thing. And then as we grew older and we grew wiser, people were like, wait a minute, what if Rachel and Annabeth together?
Yes.
All right. Ooh, Rachel, Annabeth, Percy together.
Teach the children about polycules.
Percy has two hands, Annabeth has two hands. Like, it works.
They can all hold hands together and then spin in a circle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they should do.
But before any premarital handholding can happen, a wump wump crunch happens on top of the Prius.
Yes. And also, fun fact about the noise, I will never forget that as long as I live, because one time I was taking a Percy Jackson trivia quiz that I had found online, And most of the questions were really easy, but one of the questions was like, what noise does a Pegasus make when it lands on the hood of a car? And I couldn't remember the exact noise that it made, so that's the one question on the quiz that I missed. And so for the rest of my life, I will remember that, like, Blackjack lands with a wump wump crunch. Blackjack is being ridden by Beckendorf, who's here to pick up Percy for a mission. Rachel says she'll explain to his mom and Paul, and then she kisses him before he can even react. And this kissing him is a little reminiscent of Annabeth kissing him in the volcano last book. Like, just kiss him as he goes off on his dangerous mission. But let's compare the reactions, shall we? Because when Annabeth kissed him, he says, and I quote, "I probably would have sat there for the rest of the day, staring at the lava and trying to remember what my name was." And here, he just, like, wonders what Rachel would have wanted to talk to him about, and then he asks Beckendorf not to tell Annabeth. So, like, this was not quite the world-rocking event.
Rachel kisses Percy. Percy, I wonder what she wants to talk about.
I mean, I will say that the first and only time that I kissed a man, the only thing I could think about was the fact that I had seen a rat nearby earlier. So, I mean, can relate to not being into a kiss and, like, finding something else to think about. But also, speaking of kisses, I will say this is another kiss that I missed as a kid, much like I missed the volcano kiss. So,
Did you read these books? Jesus.
I'm not really convinced that I did. But okay, I did catch this one like when I reread them in high school. But I didn't catch the volcano kiss until college. So there was like a good 4 or 5 year period where I thought Rachel kissed Percy first.
So what you're telling me is you had Star Wars revisionist history in your brain in Who Kissed Percy Jackson First.
Yes, I was like Rachel was Percy's first kiss, which is not true.
So I'm not convinced you've read these books.
I have now, and that's what matters. But also, you know, I think if Percy gets to have his fun little summer fling with Rachel, then Annabeth should get to have her own little fling just for fun. Summer flings build character.
With who?
I don't think there's been any. I don't remember what the interaction is that makes this ship happen, but there are people who, for some reason,
Is
ship
it Connor?
Annabeth and Connor Stoll.
Yeah. I have seen that.
So I guess that's who Annabeth's summer fling could be.
They're just looking for someone. I don't know if Annabeth and Connor like ever speak. But honestly, I don't hate it. She should get to have a little fun.
It's terrible. So now it's time. Hey, we got to go to war.
Right, we were flying away on Blackjack.
Yeah.
And so Beckendorf does his little, I guess you don't want me to mention that little scene to Annabeth. And, you know, I really think that people overlook how good of a friend Beckendorf is to Percy because, like, Percy asked him not to tell Annabeth, and you know what? He took that secret to his grave, and that's the bro code.
Too soon.
You're welcome for that.
Too soon.
It's been like 15 years since this book came out, just by the way.
Yeah.
All right, so our target is the Princess Andromeda, and we make it there, no problem. So Percy tells Blackjack that he can leave, and also reminds us that Blackjack was once on the Princess Andromeda as a prisoner, that they kind of accidentally freed back in book 2. And I just feel the need to remind everyone that Blackjack was in fact written as a mare back then, so canonically, trans icon Blackjack, thank you.
Blackjack is trans. We love it.
Representation matters.
I do need to say, because, you know, hey, Percy slash Rick is casually shitting on My Little Pony, where he's like, I'd figure he'd rather have his mane braided like My Little Pony than be back here again. I think 2010 was like at the peak when the brony culture was starting to become loud and annoying again. So if Rick's gonna shit on the bronies, this is about the right time period to do so.
The bronies. I forgot about. Are there still bronies out there, like, engaging with?
There are. They're just not weird. Well, no, they're still weird. They're just not loud anymore.
All right, so we're on the ship. Blackjack flies away. And then Beckendorf pulls the most classic "this dude is about to die" move of all time, because he pulls out a picture of Selena and, like, stares at it longingly.
I love this so much. This is real lover behavior. It's like it's his version of a locket.
Yes!
With, like, her picture in it. I love it so much.
Yes. No, I literally wrote, like, he may as well have, like, pulled out a locket.
Nah, and then after he looks at the picture, he's like, man, Percy, I'm so glad I'm 2 days away from retirement.
Yeah.
We need to review the plan real quick. The plan, as intended to go, is they're going to get on the ship. They're gonna arm it with a bunch of explosives, and then they're gonna jump off the ship, and then Percy will use his water powers to get him safely away, and then they will boom the ship.
Yes.
Flawless plan.
No notes.
Unfortunately, Flawless Plan has met its match in people found out that they're on the ship.
So yeah, we make it to the engine room, we start setting up our explosives, but it's taking forever. Monsters are coming, so Percy's like, I'm gonna go be a distraction. I really love the little detail that he runs past a Telkine who drops a little demon's lunchbox, and Percy says he lets him live, partly because the lunchbox is cool. I love that.
You need to pick and choose your battles, and one of your battles is just, hey, I could kill this guy, but he has a cool lunchbox.
Right. And then we fight a giant crab because why not? I did Google it because Percy kind of drops that like Annabeth had told him about this monster crab that Hercules crushed under his foot, and I wanted to know what the myth was. So the giant crab in mythology is Carcinus, and according to GreekLegendsAndMyths.com, Carcinus was a monstrous crab of unknown parentage who appeared during the second labor of Hercules, the killing of the Hydra. And Hera apparently sent this crab as a distraction so that the Hydra could kill Hercules, but then Hercules or Heracles just crushed it under his feet, and like that was that. But in recognition of the effort, Hera did in fact turn the crab into a constellation, which then, became the zodiac sign Cancer. Fun fact.
I love it.
And, Annabeth is a Cancer, so I don't know. That has nothing to do with anything, but
Have you seen that thing where it's like, I've connected it? You haven't connected shit. I've connected.
right. It's all here to bring us back to Annabeth. So this crab is a little bit too big for Percy to crush underfoot. He said it's a little bit bigger than his Reeboks. I never really considered Percy as like being a Reeboks guy, but sure, I guess it checks out.
I'm so glad they fixed that in the show where he's a Vans kid.
Yes, him being a Vans kid makes sense. And, I always love when Percy gets to use something that he, learned from one of the people that he cares about to defeat a monster. And so he uses, what Paul taught him when they went crabbing in Montauk last Christmas. And also, just would like to point out that this crabbing would have happened mere days after the events of the Sword of Hades short story, because that's, right before Christmas. So, very shortly after we almost die in the underworld, we went crabbing.
Ew.
And I love that. And then Percy explodes the fountain for no reason other than drama, and he runs at the crab, slides under it, as he says, baseball style, and stabs the crab in the chink in his armor, and it kind of disintegrates and leaves behind the shell. So Percy has to, leave his sword in the wreckage of the crab, and he's like, well, it'll reappear eventually. So then he starts just, taking monsters out with random things. He throws a model of a ship. Generally, he's just, causing havoc until he comes face to face with this 12-ish year old half-blood. Percy, of course, will not fight this kid, and so he warns him that if he wants to live, he should leave the ship now, which, very noble hero thing to do. But then also Percy does shove the kid down the stairs after the warning, which is a much less noble thing to do.
It's like, hey, get off the ship, kicks him downstairs. Now he has a concussion, can't warn anyone.
It's just, I don't know, it's funny. Percy, makes his way out to the main deck and comes face to face with Lucronos, who says he's late. They've been expecting him for days. And that's kind of devastating because, not only is your stealth mission not very stealthy at all since they knew you were coming, but also you're late. They expected you to come here and fail, days ago. I do love, though, how Percy kind of goes, screw this, big choice that I'm gonna have to make in a couple days. I'm gonna fight Kronos now. And Kronos does the whole slowing time thing again, but this time instead of getting snapped out of it by Rachel's hairbrush, Percy uses his water powers to move the entire ship, which, a little more impressive than the hairbrush, but not quite as iconic. And then Mr. Noble Hero Percy makes the mistake of looking at Luke Kronos and can't bring himself to kill this guy who was once his friend.
Pussy.
Right, I'm like, he's as bad as Annabeth. Respectfully, get it together. We cannot have both of you having a soft spot for Luke. And then also, Luke Kronos manages to barely graze Percy with his scythe, and Percy immediately starts dying because of its nefarious powers, or whatever. And then, to make matters worse, Ethan Nakamura now makes his grand entrance after capturing Beckendorf.
oh no, Percy turned into like a 17th century frail Victorian child and he got a paper cut from Cronus' scythe. Now he's gonna die. Rip.
Right. This is like, I don't know, we just read The Sword of Hades, so I guess it's like fresh on my mind, but I'm like, this is his second kind of minor wound that renders him completely useless in like 6 months. And that's crazy.
It's like when guys are like, "Oh, I can break my leg and be fine, but if I get sick, I'm out of commission. I'm dying. I can't do anything anymore."
It's like a man cold.
I have finally seen someone put it in words that fit a lot better. It's the engine's not working for cold versus some minor scratches on the paint for like if I broke my leg. That's the mentality.
Women are built different.
Yeah, you are. This is women should be running the fucking country.
I agree.
I call out when I don't feel like going to work. I fake a migraine.
Well, as you should.
I'm not part of that.
Girls are allowed.
Well, Percy's dying. Cronus is doing his like evil monologue. He's like, "Oh, Percy, it's a shame you're gonna die before you see our grand plan."
But Beckendorf, did manage to convince them that he hadn't set up the explosives yet, and he's like still got his watch. So like the mission is still on, but unfortunately there's no countdown. Like you just hit the button and things go boom. Also, we get our first look at the communication device that Lou Kronos has been using to communicate with the spy at camp, which is also apparently how he knew they'd be coming. And so it's this little like scythe charm on a bracelet. Interesting.
Little bracelet?
A little bracelet?
Are you looking for like a cooler communication device or?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, I understand this is a world of magic and whatever, but can you imagine you walk in on Kronos, the Titan of Time, just like whispering into a little bracelet and being like, "Ah, yes, spy, continue your work. Good job, spy."
Like jingles.
Kronos has a classic like white girl charm bracelet. There's actually several charms on the charm bracelet just for the accessory, because can't take over the world if you're not cute. And then we get our horrible, horrible ending. Percy can't rescue Beckendorf because Beckendorf's being held by a giant who's just gonna kill him. Percy's also still kind of dying from the scythe cut. Beckendorf makes eye contact with Percy and mouths go, which obviously Percy doesn't want to do, but he's got no other choice. The line that says, Beckendorf closed his eyes tight and brought his hand up to his watch just kills me. Like, what a devastating way to write that. Because, like, the close your eyes tight makes it feel like it's a grimace. Like, he's trying to psych himself up for what he's about to do. Like, this is not a peaceful ending here. Like, it's not like we're just embracing what's coming. It's like, it's devastating. He's just a kid. He's just a kid. They're all just kids.
And he's in love.
And he was in love.
He was 2 days away from retirement.
He was about to go to college.
I mean, honestly, you know what? Hey, this war maybe saved him from going into crippling student debt.
Yeah, that's true. He was going to go to NYU. NYU is so expensive.
My favorite thing about Rick and only knowing like two things about New York is that he's, or also in general, everyone who ever writes about New York that isn't from here goes like, "Hey, you know what? There's only two schools in New York, NYU and Columbia."
Yes, we talked about this. Where are my CUNY schools?
Exactly. I went to a CUNY school for like almost all my college. It was fun. Um,
Ugh.
that being said, I told Mal I was gonna make this joke, and I'm committing it. Hey, sorry to hear that your friend died in an explosion. Here's 5 booms for him. Boom, 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 boom.
No, we already have one boom too many.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't aware, there are these two people who are for whatever reason famous and rich because they go to Costco, and they're called the Costco Boys.
I love the Costco boys.
I listen, hey, they have a niche and people like the niche. I can't fault that, but also the entirety of the personality of their characters is we go to Costco, we eat the Costco
Yes.
food, and we say boom like every 2 seconds.
That's kind of the life. I just want to go to Costco every day.
That being said, I'm very interested in the Rizzler. I have no idea. I have no clue what his life's about, but he is probably the most powerful character in the world.
There's so much lore that I don't understand, and I kind of
No.
want to keep it that way.
Yeah, these are all people that just kind of I'm aware that they exist, and that's enough. I don't need to know anymore.
I will say, Mal, Holly told my dad what she didn't explain what the Rizzler was, but she introduced him to that word, and now he says, "I'm the Rizzler,"
Oh
and
no.
I can't get him to stop.
Oh no, God.
This is a 66-year-old man.
Oh God. He's the Rizzler. He's the main character now.
All right, so Percy jumps off the side of the ship, uses the ocean currents to get as far away as possible, and the ship explodes. And at the end of this chapter, Percy passes out while sinking in the water and thinking about Beckendorf. And it really reminds me of another chapter ending in the Sea of Monsters when Clarice's ship explodes and it is implied that Tyson died. And Percy says, "The last thing I remembered was sinking in a burning sea, knowing that Tyson was gone forever and wishing I was able to drown." If Percy had a nickel for every time he's been sinking in the water after a ship explodes, presumably killing one of his best friends, he would have 2 nickels.
Which is not a lot.
Which isn't a lot, but it really sucks that it keeps happening.
Am I the problem? Rip.
Rip indeed.
Rip
Pour
indeed.
one out for Beckendorf.
I mean, I think he poured himself out onto the sea. He returned to the sea. What was that line from Lightning Thief? What comes from the sea returns to the sea. So I
What
guess
belongs to the sea will always return to the sea.
so I
It's a
guess
seashell.
hey, Beckendorf through some kind of science came from the sea, presumably, and has now returned to the sea.
It's a stretch.
Do you not believe in evolutionism? Excuse me?
Oh, in that way. Yeah, okay, I guess. Yeah. Any other thoughts on chapter 1?
The Costco boys need to give him more booms.
I have 2 things. One, on the PDF version I read, he calls one of the monsters ugly, or I don't know, something about uglyface.com.
Oh, yes, and it was underlined blue.
Yeah, it showed up as a hyperlink, but I was on my work computer and I was like, I really want to click on this, but I was like, I do not know what is going to pop up if I try to go to this website on my
Oh, I
work.
clicked it,
What
and
is it?
brought me to this domain is not purchased.
Oh,
So I think we should buy uglyface.com and that should be our podcast website.
love. And 2, them talking about him. He's describing what Luke's wearing, and he's wearing flip flops. I have to say, this is really bad. Men wearing flip flops gives me the ick, so bad.
Anyone wearing flip-flops would give you the ick. You hate feet.
True, but at the beach, I'm like, girls can wear flip flops, but when I see a man in flip flops, I'm like, I don't know what else they're supposed to wear at the beach. I feel bad, but flip flops, I can't do it.
I didn't even notice that. Hold on.
Listen, this is slightly better than my best friend's ex-boyfriend who the red flag wasn't that he was a super mega conservative. The red flag was that he
Was that he wore flip-flops?
wore turtlenecks on cruises.
Oh.
That would be a red flag.
I was just about to say it's kind of a red flag that Luke has on jeans, a t-shirt, and flip-flops. Why do you have on flip-flops with your jeans?
Kronos is just an old man, like an old retired Floridian.
Kronos is my father, it appears, because my dad, oh my god, my dad has this pair of croc flip-flops. They're made by Crocs. And he refuses to wear anything else. These shoes have no more tread at all. He is about to wear holes in the bottom of these shoes, but he loves these croc flip-flops.
That's the worst thing you could have said to me. I hate Crocs and I hate men flip flops. What the hell?
That's my father. All right. Well, congratulations on making it through our first explosive chapter.
Why do you gotta do Beckendorf like that? Why?
Are you happy with that? Are you happy? But hey, at least with death comes meeting the fishy relatives, which is the next chapter.
That is true. Chapter 2 is I meet some fishy relatives, and this is really our exposition chapter. We get kind of all the backstory. We start with a dream, and so we're on Mount Orthrus. We're watching 2 titans have a conversation. One is gold, the other has ram's horns. Atlas is also there, holding the sky. The ram dude is Krios, and the gold titan says that he has to stay and guard Mount Orthrus, which he doesn't like. Atlas is also begging to be freed. and they tell him he had his chance and he failed, so Kronos says he has to stay where he is.
You had your book.
And the Gold Titan says there are many surprises to come, and Olympus will most definitely be in ruins in a few days. Great. And then all of a sudden, Nico is there, and he says they're running out of time, and they won't be able to beat the Titans without his plan. His mysterious, mysterious plan. And I would be like, hey, Julie, do you have any thoughts on Nico's plan? But I don't. Like, I don't think we have any context for Nico's plan to even be able to, like, make a guess.
Isn't the only other time he mentioned it, like, at Percy's birthday or something?
He did. And he also mentioned it in
One of the
the
short stories?
yeah, in the Sword of Hades when they were in the underworld. He was like, "Hey, have you thought any more about my plan?"
I got nothing.
Yeah.
How does Nico know how to talk to Percy through his dream vision?
Nico's got a lot going on.
To be fair, I mean, you know, there's the saying that's like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, so maybe sleep and death are related, quote unquote.
Well, didn't Bianca once guide, like, Percy's dreams before or something? Or was that an Iris message?
Yeah, she was sending him iris messages, late night iris messages. Yeah.
Okay. Different.
I feel like at some point Nico says something about dreams.
Dreams, dreams,
And, like,
dreams,
learning
dreams,
to
dreams, dreams.
I don't know. I feel like that's something later, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, then Percy wakes up deep underwater in Poseidon's palace, and everyone's favorite Cyclops, Tyson, is there.
Woo! My boy! I love him.
He has returned.
And Tyson kind of fills Percy in on where he is and how they found him sinking in the water, but that they found no sign of Beckendorf. And it's always so devastating to me the way that Percy's like, he was supposed to go to college in the fall, he had a girlfriend, he had his whole life ahead of him, and now he's just gone. They're all just kids.
Yeah, straight up, I remember reading this book when I was like 16, 17, somewhere around that age, and I'm like, oh, I'm an adult, I'm old enough, I'm grown, I'm a man, and it's like, oh god, wait, no, this is actually very terrifying. Uh, Later on as an adult, me being 20, almost 28 years old now, reading this and be like, oh god, these were children.
Yeah. Well, because I read these for the first time when I was like 11. And I was like, yeah, by the time I'm 16, I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to have my life together. Like, Percy Jackson is so old. Like, of course he's saving the world.
When did this come out? 2009. So I was like 12. So I was 12 looking at these like 16, 17-year-olds being like, ah, yes, adults dying in war. And now I'm 27 and it's like, oh no, those were kids.
That's what you, like, when you're 16, it's time for you to go and die in war, basically. Also, Percy does like a little Beckendorf sacrificed himself and I abandoned him. Like, maybe that's true, but also, like, you would be dead too if you hadn't left. It's not your fault, Percy.
Nah, it's Percy's fault. Let's blame him. Let's give him Survivor's Guild.
He can do that himself. He's doing that very well himself.
I cast Survivor's Guild.
Okay, so Tyson takes Percy to go see Poseidon.
Because he's the titular son of Poseidon.
We've got an undersea palace that is magnificent, but also is kind of in the process of being destroyed in war. And we get the mermen that you wanted here, Julie.
Yes!
And they have blue skin and bright green eyes and shark teeth.
I don't love the shark teeth.
Which is incredible.
It's nothing like the Little Mermaid.
I love the Little Mermaid.
I love how Rick can freely just reference that because Disney Hyperion, Little Mermaid's a Disney property.
Was it? Like, was this?
This is Disney Hyperion.
Disney?
Yes. This is
when it
Disney.
Came out?
That's the whole reason. That was like a big reason why when the Fox merger happened, Rick was like, "Hey, you guys own Percy Jackson now, all together. Make a show. I'll write more books for you." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we do own this Percy Jackson thing. Yeah, let's make a show. Why not?" Disney Hyperion.
Oh yeah, Hyperion Books, imprint of Disney.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's just funny to me whenever I see Rick trying to reference a restaurant or a building that doesn't actually exist, or that the wording or that the name is slightly off to avoid copyright. I'm like, no, they can just freely reference Little Mermaid because they own it.
I didn't even think about the legality of like referencing things in books. Maybe we can just start blaming timeline issues on like, oh well, like legally. I don't know. Anyway, our shark-toothed mermen are fighting a giant squid that then is like vaporized by a blast from Poseidon. And we also find out that Tyson hasn't been allowed to fight. He's just been making weapons, which he clearly isn't enjoying. When they do find him, Percy almost doesn't recognize his dad because he looks all old and haggard because he reflects the state of his realm and the ocean is like kind of at war. And he's also there with his wife, Amphitrite, and Poseidon like goes to introduce her to Percy and she's like, I meet it in battle and leaves. Like, what a dumb move by Poseidon. Hey honey, meet my bastard son.
You know how I cheat on you regularly with a bunch of mortal women? So much so that we had to that me and my brothers literally banned it like 70 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, read the room, Poseidon, read the room.
Mm.
And he's also like standing there with Tyson, another one of Poseidon's children.
Tyson's a little more on the like it's okay kind of side because that's just like mythical children. Mythical children altogether just sort of fall into the like, that's the son of Poseidon. Demigods apparently is where it's like, wow, you've cheated on me with a mortal again and had another one of your little shitty demigods again. Okay.
And also we meet Triton, not I guess technically Ariel's
Yeah,
father,
which would
but
make
probably not Ariel's father
which
at this
technically
point.
makes Percy Ariel's uncle.
Yes.
No, great uncle? What's the word? It's
Uncle,
no, yes, because they're
because they're
brothers. So yeah,
brothers.
it'd be uncle, which is
Yeah,
a
uncle.
weird thought to have.
Yeah. And Triton is also not nice to Percy. He's like, oh, you're finally here to help? Leave Percy alone. It's not his fault that his father is a scoundrel. But also, I feel like Triton's a little bit jealous because Percy's the special prophecy kid. And also, Poseidon straight up told Percy that he was his favorite son. So, just saying.
Never ever tell your children which one's your favorite.
Yeah. It makes things weird. My mom has said I'm her favorite, and I'm just like,
Brother.
really? That feels like a mistake for both of us. Anyway, so Poseidon has been battling Oceanus the Titan for like a year now, and things aren't going very well. And it's interesting to me that like Percy is just finding this out now. You know?
Mm.
Like if this has been going on for this long, surely Percy would know, right?
How would he know? Who would tell him?
I mean,
How would they know?
the
If you say
fish?
okay, you know what? I was gonna be like, if you say Chiron, I'm gonna laugh in your face. But you saying the fish, actually a decent idea.
Yeah. Well, Chiron doesn't tell him anything.
Yeah, that's why I would have laughed.
Right. But the fish. Yeah. So Poseidon shows Percy like this image of Oceanus, and he's this mermaid who's got the horns of a bull, and he's in a chariot pulled by crawfish. And my question is it a couple of really big crawfish, or is it like thousands of regular sized crawfish?
What would be funnier?
Well, I'm thinking like in terms of riding into battle, what would be more intimidating? Because I would be really scared of a person who like took the time to organize and like attach thousands of tiny little crawfish like to their
Oh,
chariot.
so it's the same kind of mentality as I fear not the man who has mastered 1,000 kicks, but the man who has mastered one kick 1,000 times, or whatever the saying is.
I don't know, is that the same?
I believe so.
I don't know, it's just like I would be like, "Oh, this person is crazy. This person is nuts. They tied thousands of tiny crawfish to a chariot. That's crazy."
I think it would be funnier.
Yeah.
Little tiny harnesses.
Ah, little tiny harnesses. That's just cute. We also have old friends like Briares who are helping out with the fighting, which is fun. It's just kind of a little cameo appearance. We don't even talk to Briares, but Poseidon also asks for an update on the mission. Percy kind of explains what happens, and he looks around and he notices a lot of like coral mounds that look like they're sort of hastily made graves. And he thinks about how like hundreds, if not thousands, have already died in this war. And like we're having to grapple with a lot of big things like very early on in this book. Like we have to face the fact that like we didn't kill Lucronos, we've only slowed him down, but we like definitely killed all the demigods that were working for him on the ship. And like we also have to come to terms with like the death of Beckendorf and like all these things. Like this is chapter 2.
Oh yeah. Percy hearing this, being like, maybe I shouldn't have pushed that kid down the stairs. Him not having a concussion might have been crucial in getting everyone out safely.
Truly, I don't think, even with the warning, I don't think anyone could have gotten out of there.
Because like first you have to convince everyone, hey, this ship's about to explode, and they're gonna be like, well, how do you know? And then it'll be like, oh, Percy Jackson, our sworn enemy, told me, and he's like, Percy Jackson.
Yeah, like I don't think there was no saving them. Like, you're gonna blow up the ship, you're gonna take out some half bloods, and that's terrible, but
They signed up to work with him.
it's true. But did they know what they were signing up for? Did Percy know what he was signing up for at 12? No, he didn't. He had no idea.
I'm just saying, people are gonna die.
Yeah, it's
People are gonna die. Sorry.
people are gonna die.
If they kill off Rachel, I just have to say I'm killing myself at the end of this podcast. I just wanted to... She dies. It's all over Mal.
You're going with her.
Yeah. Solidarity. Redhead solidarity.
You know what? That feels like a reasonable reaction.
Thank you.
Oh, also, Poseidon says that there's some bigger threat that the gods are having to face. And we don't explain what this is to Percy, because of course not. All he says is that it's time for Percy to go back to camp. And when he does go back to camp, he needs to tell Chiron that it's time for him to hear the whole prophecy. And I cannot believe that it is time for both Percy and Julie to hear the whole prophecy.
Is that gonna be next chapter or something? You gonna get... Or do I have to wait?
I don't know. Could be. Might have to wait. Might not. You'll find out. And, you know, Percy really wants to stay and help his father. And he even has a little, like, what if this is the big decision I'm supposed to make thing? But, like, number one, dude, you are not 16 yet. And you haven't even heard the prophecy. So you have no idea what this choice is going to be. And you're going to drive yourself crazy thinking that everything is this big prophesized choice. Like, you make hundreds, if not thousands of choices every day. Like, the choice could be what you have for breakfast on your 16th birthday. You don't know.
I don't think it's gonna be that, though.
What if it was? He picks the blueberry pancakes and he really should have picked the Cheerios. At Olympus Falls. That's...
Yeah.
Spoilers, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you have seen Gravity Falls.
I have not.
Rip. Okay, so I can't make the... For those of you who have read Book of Bill, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm trying to say. Not these two nerds. Hey, you two want to start a Gravity Falls podcast?
We're actually going to start 37 new podcasts.
Grow your empire.
Anyway, Poseidon sends Tyson back to the armory, and Tyson tells Percy to be careful and not let monsters kill him dead. Ugh, we love Tyson. And Percy tells Poseidon that he should let Tyson fight, but Poseidon says he's too young and he needs to protect him. Because, you know, child soldiers are okay when they're demigods, but we draw the line at Cyclops child soldiers, apparently.
Again, like I said earlier, your mythological child, that doesn't count. They're the good beans. Yeah, whatever. Cool. Have a billion of them. Demigod children, they're, as far as I know, they're cannon fodder. Just throw them out to the wind.
Ugh. What a terrible, terrible thing to say.
That's the ideology of the gods.
No, I know. They really view the demigods as, like, expendable, and it's a bummer. And then Poseidon also reminds us of the sand dollar that he gave Percy for his 15th birthday, which apparently Percy has been wearing on his camp necklace since then. How big is this sand dollar? Because, like, I have never seen a sand dollar that is smaller than, like, an Oreo. And most I've seen are, like, even bigger than that. Like, how has he had that around his neck for the last year? It's a very large accessory.
Good question. I mean, if we're going with like haven't seen anything smaller than an Oreo. Okay, he has like an Oreo size thing on his neck. I think that's something decent to have for a necklace, like a little Oreo shaped sand dollar.
But also I'm thinking, like, okay, so if it's on his camp necklace, that's like a leather cord, right? And so maybe it's just me, but I'm envisioning him putting it through, like, the little hole in the center of a sand dollar. So to me, it's also, like, hanging sideways, you know?
I do not know what a sand dollar is outside of Animal Crossing. I have to be completely honest with you. Work on the beach on Animal Crossing, and then I sell them.
I gotta find a picture of a sand dollar for Julie.
You want a sand dollar necklace now?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the sand dollar because I'm like, you are putting it through one of the holes that is naturally in the sand
Oh.
dollar, I think. Like, you're putting your necklace through one of the holes. So then it's gonna hang weird.
That's huge.
Right? How has he had this on his neck?
Can you shrink it? Maybe they shrunk it.
It's a magic sand dollar.
Yeah.
I'm acting like that this kid doesn't have a sword that he carries around as a pin in his pocket. Like, there's magic happening. But I cannot suspend my disbelief long enough to believe that he's had a sand dollar on his necklace. The other thing about the sand dollar, though, he says that he doesn't know what to spend it on, but he knows that it doesn't fit in the vending machines in the school cafeteria. And just like,
Real.
why would you think that it would? Why would you think that it would?
Because hungry teenage boy brain hits at like 2 o'clock or whatever, or 9 a.m. randomly or whatever, and you're like, hey, you know what? In between classes, I could hit up the vending machine that's like in the lunchroom. Oh no, I don't have any money. I mean, I know my dad said it was important that this sand dollar like would like be used in a very important decision, but like, what if the very important decision is that I have my little snacky before class?
You know what? Sometimes you just need those sun chips.
Mm.
Okay? You just need them.
Imagine. That's the purpose of the sand dollar. Is just get him a little snack in between classes.
Yeah, and that would have been the purpose, and then they would win the Titan War. I want to argue now, Percy and company are not going to win the war because he didn't get his little snack.
Yeah.
You need to be fueled.
He's feeling hangry and can't win a war if you're hangry. Though I can picture Percy like trying to fit a sand dollar into the vending machine as like a line is forming behind him and all his like new classmates at good high school are looking at him like, what's wrong with this guy? And then Poseidon tells Percy goodbye, says if they're lucky, he'll see Percy for his birthday next week. And then Percy heads off back to the surface, and that's where we end for this one. So, anything else on chapter 2? Just spin it under the sea. All right. Julie, did you make predictions for chapter 3 and 4?
I did.
Beautiful.
Chapter 3, I get a sneak peek at my death. Thinking he gets a weird dream again, or maybe we hear the prophecy and it talks about Percy dying.
Could be. Could be.
Ooh.
Or yeah. And then chapter 4, we burn a metal shroud. I think that's Beckendorf's funeral.
No, it's actually a different guy
Yeah, it's a different guy.
in the metal shroud.
If we get of like Nina, I like picture her in like all black with like the like net like headpieces like with the
Yes.
dots all over it. That's what I see Selena wearing to Beckendorf's funeral.
It's her widow era, and you know she's gonna
Yeah.
be fabulous.
Yeah, like it's tragic, but also she's serving.
Right, as she should.
Honestly, that's what I would do. If the love of my life died, I'm making sure I'm serving. Sorry.
What is your boyfriend's death if not the opportunity to serve?
Truly.
Gotta find a new boyfriend somehow. I'm sorry.
Damn.
This funeral pic's gonna hit hard, you know?
Yes.
I'm very excited for this. I'm like amped up. This is a good one.
I know. I took a screenshot of the text that you sent me when you were like, I just finished the first chapter and what the hell? I sent that to like 3 people and I was like, oh, she's in it. She's in it.
Last book of the series.
Last book of the
Crazy.
series. We're here. We're in the end game.
I thought we'd be here. You gotta get that Paul. Oh my god, what's his name?
Paul Rudd, the who would have thought. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Not me.
Not me.
The Julie a year ago who was like, I don't know if I'm gonna finish The Lightning Thief.
Oh my gosh.
Like, well, I'll read the first book. I don't know if you're gonna have me back after that.
And look at you now. Look at us now.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, thanks for being here to talk about these banger chapters.
Thank you for having me. I don't think we have enough booms to Beckendorf.
Again, I'm going to say I think we gave too many booms to Beckendorf. One too many booms.
We only gave him one boom, if we're really thinking about it.
Well, it was a really big one.
Yeah.
The Costco boys themselves were on the ship and they lit the fuse. The button that Beckendorf presses doesn't automatically ignite the fuse. It's like pings the Costco boys to come in and just be like, boom!
I need you to make a meme with the Costco boys now. I need to see it.
I'll absolutely do that. I'll absolutely do that.
Please. Great. Do you want to tell the people where to find you? Robert.
Yeah, I do. So you can find me at TheDamMemePage wherever you find me.
Except not Twitter anymore.
Hell yeah, not Twitter. I'm no longer on Twitter, thank God. So you can find me on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. I started a YouTube channel. That's the big shtick I'm working on nowadays.
I have been on the YouTube channel. It was very fun.
Mal was on for an episode to talk about episode 5 of Percy Jackson, the series, which was fun to do. And then if you want to hear me talk podcast shenanigans, I host a podcast with my friend Charlie. It's called The Bits. It is a Steven Universe rewatch and analysis podcast that we don't recommend listening to unless you've watched the entire show, because we spoiled the big twist of the show in like the first 2 episodes.
Good to know.
Well, thanks for being here, and I can't wait for the rest of this book.
Very excited.
Much fun stuff to come.
Much fun. Very wow. Such boom.
So many booms. Close us out with some more booms.
Boom, 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 boom.
That's a wrap.
Yep. Hi, you can find us on social media at DemigodDebutPod, and if you enjoy consuming this podcast, consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you are listening. See you next time for chapters 3 and 4. Bye!